Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Stan Houston on sometimes it could be a turbulent Thursday, but we'll talk a little bit about that today. Hey, that title is not mine. It comes from Michael Crichton and Charlton Heston, but it's wonderful. What an intoxicating vanity. An intoxicating vanity. That's something that a lot of us suffer from, and it's something we'll talk about today. An intoxicating vanity, because indeed there is no climate emergency right now, and there probably isn't even a climate crisis right now. And so in the midst of all the noise and the mess, we'll just try and see if we can extrapolate some calm stories and suggestions that might be helpful to you as you plan the end of the week, and hopefully looking forward to the time that some good things can happen this weekend. Yes, intoxicating vanity. Just one of those interesting ideas, and the program begins right now. And once again, I do thank you for your time. We try and, during the weekdays, go about 15 or 20 minutes. That's a good time for you to just kind of, learn a few things and think about a few things that might even be helpful to you in the day that's before you. Not too long, perhaps a little bit longer for some of you, but it's just about right. The average commute, it's about what it takes you to perhaps walk 10 blocks with a good stride to it, which would be good exercise for your body, and perhaps something like this might be a little bit of a exercise and challenge for your mind. Maybe that's some intoxicating vanity. I better be careful about that. Here's where we're going. The other day, again, I'm one of the few guys who comes very early to the office buildings. There's about one or two others that are oftentimes here well before 8 o'clock, and that's how I get ready for the day. And oftentimes I've actually done quite a bit more before that. And Jake was there, and he asked me a little bit about, he said, "Oh, here you are again early." He said, "What do you do in the morning?" Well, I actually described that I get up much earlier, and sometimes I just take times to kind of sit and think and pray, but just sit there. And then he paused and leaned back, and he said, "Yeah, it's time to come to peace with the world." And I looked him right in the eye and said, "Thanks for the program idea. Yeah, it's time to come to peace with the world." The world is what it is, and it obviously is in a mess, and it is not at peace, but that doesn't mean that perhaps, like the old Christmas carol says, let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And I changed that to say, let it begin in me, and then maybe it'll be with me. And maybe then you can share some of that peace with somebody else. Do you know how powerful it is to come into somebody's presence, and you know what I'm talking about if you've had these occasions and you know these people, is they are strong. They are tall. Not necessarily tall in height, but they stand up straight. They're fully engaged in living their body, good posture, good presence. They're tall. And they're calm. And they move fast in some cases, and they know how to just slow down at the right time. And they know how to take a pause, and they know how to be very present, and they know how to listen to others. Yeah, I love that description. Come to peace with the world. And so that's, I guess, what I try and do. And perhaps I would suggest that in your hurried morning activities that you try and change that and see if you can take time to come to peace with the world. And that brought me to another remembrance which I shared with him. Richard Rohr, the wonderful speaker and pastor, who has put together a number of things that are really revolutionary in their thinking. And he simply said this: sometimes you just have to learn how to forgive reality. Reality is difficult, and it's tough. And reality sometimes can betray you, and befuddle you, and confuse you, and hurt you, and give you pain. Yes. And sometimes all you can do is you just have to forgive reality. So maybe one of the things that you need to do in the morning is to take some time to take a deep breath. Perhaps have a cup of coffee or tea or something. You need liquid in the morning. Get a drink of water, maybe a large glass of water first before you do your coffee and tea, and just sit and come to peace with the world. And perhaps forgive the reality of the past day, and perhaps be ready to forgive it today. And then maybe you're ready to meet the marketplace. Now, with that in mind, I came across somebody who pointed this out to me. We all heard from the President of the United States, Joseph Biden, yesterday, and it is in all of the news features. Hey, this is time. It's a climate crisis. It's a climate emergency. Global climate change is going to destroy us, and it's going to destroy us soon and destroy our children. My friends, that's a lie. That's not true. Now, is there climate change? Well, there's always been climate change. Is there man-made climate change? You really think we can do that? Well, think about that. Well, as a result of that, someone suggested that I go back to the reading that Charlton Heston, a number of years ago, did in a conversation with Rush Limbaugh, where he quotes the prologue to Jurassic Park, which is now making, of course, a comeback in some people's eyes. And what it was is Charlton Heston. And, of course, I love Charlton Heston, both in terms of his acting and speaking abilities. You can learn a lot from just watching him live and then watching him perform, and see how graciously, when Alzheimer's began to take that brilliant mind down, how he still lived a life of as much as he could of focus and presence and purpose and a sense of calmness. I hope that if that comes to me, I can model a graceful ending as he did. But what he did is he put together a little 3-minute reading of Jurassic Park, and it's talking about the intoxicating vanity of thinking that we, mere present moment human beings, can change the world. Now, so with your permission, and with all due credit to all of the people involved, from the Rush Limbaugh program to the people from Powerline who suggested it to me, to the people like you who will listen to it. Here we go, a little excerpt from Jurassic Park about intoxicating vanity.
You think man can destroy the planet? What intoxicating vanity. Let me tell you about our planet. Earth is 4.5 billion years old. There's been life on it for nearly that long. 3.8 billion years. Bacteria first, later the first multicellular life, then the first complex creatures in the sea, on the land, then finally the great sweeping ages of animals, the amphibians, the dinosaurs, At last the mammals, each one enduring millions on millions of years. Great dynasties of creatures rising, flourishing, dying away. All this against a background of continuous and violent upheaval. Mountain ranges thrust up, eroded away, cometary impacts, volcanic eruptions, oceans rising and falling. Whole continents moving in endless, constant, violent change, colliding, buckling to make mountains over millions of years. Earth has survived everything in its time. It will certainly survive us. If all the nuclear weapons in the world went off at once, and all the plants, all the animals died, and the earth was clicking hot for 100,000 years, life would survive somewhere, under the soil, frozen in Arctic ice. Sooner or later, when the planet was no longer inhospitable, life would spread again. The evolutionary process would begin again. Might take a few billion years for life to regain its present variety. Of course, it would be very different from what it is now. But the earth would survive our folly, only we would not. If the ozone layer gets thinner, ultraviolet radiation sears the earth. So what? Ultraviolet radiation is good for life. It's powerful energy. It promotes mutation, change. Many forms of life will thrive with more UV radiation. Many others will die out. You think this is the first time that's happened? Think about oxygen. Necessary for life? No. But oxygen is actually a metabolic poison, a corrosive gas, like fluorine. When oxygen was first produced as a waste product by certain plant cells some 3 billion years ago, it created a crisis for all other life on Earth. Those plants were polluting the environment, exhaling a lethal gas. Earth eventually had an atmosphere incompatible with life. Nevertheless, life on Earth took care of itself. In the thinking of a human being, 100 years is a long time. 100 years ago, we didn't have cars, airplanes, computers, or vaccines. It was a whole different world. But to the Earth, 100 years is nothing. 1,000,000 years is nothing. This planet lives and breathes on a much vaster scale. We can't imagine its slow and powerful rhythms, and we haven't got the humility to try. We've been residents here for the blink of an eye. If we're gone tomorrow, the Earth will not miss us.
There's nothing more I need to say. You heard it, and you can deal with it in your own way. It's not an emergency. Don't be afraid. There are many things that maybe we should be afraid of, but that's not one of them. And it's not an emergency. When my wife was on the floor with a heart condition, and I called 911, and they came rumbling and rambling there fast, that was an emergency. And thank goodness, boy, were they good. Were they great? And of course, my wife and I are incredibly grateful for they were the people who understood an emergency. And you know what made them really, really good? They knew it was an emergency. They knew it was crucial, but they were calm. No panic. No false moves. No making it to be bigger than it was. In fact, their job was to make the whole situation calmer and smoother and assure me that they could handle it and that my dear Karen would be at the hospital in just a short time, and they would make sure they got her there just fine. You can sit down and relax and wait, Mr. Houston. The EMS finally is coming because the first responders came first, and then they called the EMS, and it all worked out. And fairly soon we were in the emergency room, and just fine. No crisis, no emergency. So, again, just let that sit on your head for a while. And remember, sometimes you need to just forgive reality. And sometimes you just need to say, today I will live at peace with my world and perhaps with the world. Just an interesting idea. My name is Stan Houston. I thank you for your time. I trust you'll have a less than turbulent Thursday. Maybe now you'll be able to even face some of that turbulence with a greater sense. As Mr. Jordan once said to me, with the majesty of calmness. Again, the majesty of calmness. And that please, dear God, keep us away from intoxicating vanity. Watch out for the people who carry that and promote that. Don't be afraid. Remember, all will be well. Reach out to me. I believe I can help you in some way. I'm Stan Husted. You can reach me at stanhusted@gmail.com. stanhusted@gmail.com. Again, you are going to have to learn to do what I teach people to do. Now, whether you learn it from me and whether you learn it from somebody else or whether you learn it now or later, you're going to have to learn how to use the media just like I am. That's what you will have to do in the modern world of today. So I can help you do that. Again, check it out at witradio.net. Witradio.net. That's a wit as wisdom, insight, and truth, and what it takes. And we can help you do that. My longtime performance coaching was centered on helping men and women who were entrepreneurs and who didn't just want to solve problems, but they wanted to create. They wanted to create new things, new opportunities, and perhaps do something they had never done before and had a viewpoint and a thought point that they had never had before. And then that would empower their life, their actions, and their leadership. That's what I do. And I do it fairly well. I hope that's not vanity. Please reach out to me at stanhusted@gmail.com, stanhusted@gmail.com. All the best and blessings for you. It will be a good day. And bye for now.